Hush, little baby, don't say a word.
On a chilling Friday the 13th in March 1964, a horrific event unfolded in the quiet neighborhood of Kew Gardens, Queens, New York. As the city that never sleeps was wrapped in the arms of Morpheus, Catherine, better known as Kitty, Genovese was returning home from work, oblivious to the terror that awaited. As she parked her car, a man named Winston Moseley emerged from the shadows, his intentions as dark as the night itself. What unfolded next was not just a brutal attack, but a shocking display of human apathy. Moseley attacked Kitty, not once, but twice. She screamed, her voice piercing the silence of the night, a desperate plea for help that fell on 38 pairs of ears. Yet help did not come. The chilling reality of this tale is not just the senseless violence inflicted on Kitty, but the shocking indifference of her neighbors. The 38 witnesses were not strangers in a bustling metropolis, but neighbors in a close-knit community. They heard her cries, saw her struggle, yet chose to turn a blind eye, their silence echoing louder than Kitty's screams. This incident sparked a nationwide conversation about bystander apathy, a social phenomenon where individuals are less likely to offer help to a victim when others are present. This gruesome event served as a stark reminder that horror is not just found in tales of the supernatural, but can lurk in the corners of our everyday lives. On this fateful Friday the 13th, Kitty Genovese didn't just become another statistic in the city's crime records. Her name echoed through the halls of psychology, criminology, and sociology, becoming a symbol of a terrifying social phenomenon that haunts us to this day. As the sun rose on this fateful day, the name Kitty Genovese became synonymous with a chilling real-life horror story. Fast forward to Friday, October 13th, 1972, when a Uruguayan Air Force flight carrying 45 people, including a rugby team, crashed into the Andes. On this fateful day, the journey home transformed into a horrifying battle for survival. The plane, once a symbol of modern convenience, became a twisted wreckage in the unforgiving, frost-bitten landscape of the Andes Mountains. Among the 45 passengers, only 16 would live to tell the tale, a chilling narrative of resilience, desperation, and the human will to survive. A cruel twist of fate, a miscalculation, and the plane was down, leaving the survivors in a world both alien and hostile. The biting cold, the relentless winds, the barren landscape, all of it seemed to conspire against them. Their only shelter was the mutilated carcass of the plane, a grim reminder of their dire predicament. The survivors quickly realized that help was not on its way. The search was called off. They were presumed dead. Alone and forgotten, they had to fend for themselves in this icy wilderness. The food supplies dwindled, and the grim specter of starvation loomed over them. In a desperate move to stay alive, they made a gruesome decision. They resorted to cannibalism, feeding off the frozen remains of their fallen comrades. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. Their ordeal lasted for 72 grueling days. Every day was a testament to their willpower, their determination, their sheer will to live. There was no room for weakness, no room for despair. They clung onto life with a tenacity that defied all odds. The eerie coincidence of the crash date, Friday the 13th, added an extra layer of dread to their chilling tale. But against all odds, they survived. They emerged from the Andes, forever scarred, forever changed but alive. Their story, a stark reminder of the terrifying lengths humans can go to when pushed to the brink. In the face of unimaginable horror, these survivors clung on to life, marking this Friday the 13th as one of the most chilling in history. Venturing into recent history on Friday, January 13, 2012, the luxury cruise ship Costa Concordia met a tragic end. Weaving through the Mediterranean, this floating palace with over 4,000 souls aboard struck a submerged rock off the coast of Isola del Giglio, Italy. The impact tore a gaping hole in the hull of the colossal ship, causing it to list and eventually capsize. What followed was nothing short of chaos. As the ship began to sink, the announcement came, not for an immediate evacuation, but for passengers to return to their cabins. It was a full hour later when the order to abandon ship was finally given. By then, the Concordia was listing so severely that many lifeboats were unusable. Passengers and crew members found themselves scrambling for safety in a terrifying, disorganized evacuation eerily reminiscent of the Titanic disaster. And speaking of the Titanic, the parallels are uncanny. Both were massive luxury liners, both struck objects in the water, and both disasters happened on the 13th. But the chilling coincidence doesn't stop there. The Concordia, like the Titanic, was claimed to be unsinkable. Yet both succumbed to their watery graves, taking innocent lives with them. The captain's actions that night were nothing short of controversial. Captain Francesco Schettino, despite his ship sinking, reportedly left his post, abandoning his passengers and crew. He claimed he fell into a lifeboat, an excuse that fell on deaf ears during his trial, where he was sentenced to 16 years in prison for manslaughter. The Costa Concordia tragedy is a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of life and the sea. It's a tale of hubris, disaster, and the human instinct for survival. It also serves to remind us of the eerie coincidence of the number 13, a number steeped in superstition and fear. This modern-day maritime disaster, occurring on Friday the 13th, added yet another chilling tale to this infamous date. Now let's delve into the dark history and superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th. This eerie date, steeped in mystery and fear, traces its origins back to biblical times. The Last Supper, as many of you know, was attended by 13 guests, Jesus and his 12 apostles. It was on a Friday that Judas, the 13th guest, betrayed Jesus, leading to his crucifixion. This event cast a long, ominous shadow on both the number 13 and Fridays, and when combined, they form a day feared by many. Let's journey further back to the realm of Norse mythology. Legend tells us of a banquet in Valhalla, the Hall of the Gods, where 12 divine entities were enjoying a peaceful meal. Suddenly, Loki, the trickster god, and the uninvited 13th guest crashed the party. Chaos ensued as Loki manipulated the blind god Hod into killing his own brother, Balder, the god of joy and happiness. Once again, we see the number 13 in a festive gathering leading to disaster. Over the centuries, this superstition has seeped into our societal fabric. It's influenced architectural designs, with many buildings skipping the 13th floor, and some airlines even avoid a 13th row on their planes. It's given birth to a term, paraskevidikatriophobia, which means fear of Friday the 13th. Its impact on popular culture is immense, with the Friday the 13th horror franchise being a prime example. These movies, with their seemingly cursed summer camp and relentless killer, Jason Voorhees, have etched this date deeper into the collective consciousness as a day of dread. Yet, despite the superstitions, many defy the odds and dismiss these beliefs as mere folklore. Some even embrace the day, viewing it as a lucky charm rather than a curse. Whether you're superstitious or not, the dark history of Friday the 13th is undeniably intriguing and chilling. The question remains, though, does this day truly carry a curse? Or is it all just a macabre coincidence? As we near the end of our journey, let's take a moment to revisit the most horrific events we've discussed. Our first tale of terror took us to the streets of New York, where Kitty Genovese's life was tragically cut short. Her murder in the early hours of a Friday the 13th remains a chilling reminder of the bystander effect. Despite the presence of 38 witnesses, none intervened or called for help until it was too late. The haunting silence of that night still echoes through the years, a stark reminder of the horror that unfolded. We then took flight to the Andes, where a plane carrying 45 passengers crashed on a Friday the 13th. The survivors, stranded in the freezing wilderness, resorted to unthinkable measures to stay alive. The Andes flight disaster stands as a stark testament to human resilience and the terrifying lengths we can be driven to in the face of unimaginable hardship. Our journey then set sail to the Mediterranean, where the Costa Concordia met a tragic end. On a Friday the 13th, the luxury cruise liner hit a rock and capsized, resulting in the tragic loss of 32 lives. The chilling images of the half-sunk ship, a grim reminder of the disaster, are forever imprinted in our memories. These events, each a horrifying tale in its own right, share a chilling coincidence. They all took place on a Friday the 13th. Is it merely a case of bad luck, an unfortunate coincidence, or is there more to this date that meets the eye? The chilling realities of these events remind us of the fragility of life and the unpredictability of fate. On this note, we conclude our exploration of the horrific things that happened on Friday the 13th, a date that will forever be etched in our minds with tales of terror and tragedy.